our first round of disability access research. Ultimately, Disney World had the best, most accessible solution for guests with disabilities of all types.
Here's what my day at Disneyland looked like as someone with narcolepsy. First, I went to guest relations to ask them about Disability Access Services, or a DAS pass, which is basically a virtual queue because physical lines can be difficult if I have a sleep attack and there's nowhere to sit or lay down. So after waiting the virtual queue, we went to our first ride, Radiator Springs Racers, and I had never been on it before and it was really fun. A few rides later, I started to feel really tired, so we went to First Aid, and they were so accommodating and really nice. They led us to this room with a bunch of beds and gave me a corner to sleep in so I could take a short nap. By the time I woke up, our virtual queue was up, so we were able to ride our next ride, Toy Story Mania. We also went on the Incredicoaster, and I realized later that I had left my ears in the little pocket. The cast members were so sweet helping me look for it, and we found it on the very last cart we checked. All that stress about losing my ears clearly wiped me out because then I had to take a nap on a bench. Then we got some ice cream and rode a few more rides and called it a day. 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 And called it a day.
2024, Disney announced they were doing some changes to their disability pass.
My not so great Disneyland day as someone with narcolepsy. Rules recently changed, and unlike my last trip, Disney no longer recognizes disabilities outside of autism for the DAS pass. When I had the pass, I was able to rest on a bench or take naps, something my body literally requires to function, while I waited in a virtual queue. Instead, to experience the rides, I stood for hours and often went extended periods without anything to sit on or lean against. I had to rely on the people around me to lean on, and I was so excited whenever I saw a bench in the lines. The consequence of this, my energy drained much quicker, so I was very grateful for First Aid, which had a room of beds where I was able to nap. I ended up crashing for way longer than I expected, which obviously cut a lot into my park time. We were able to fit in all the Star Wars rides, and of course Logan's favorite, It's a Small World, which was a little too dim for me and made me kind of sleepy. Overall though, I feel like I just missed out on so much of the park, and we ended up having to call it quits while it was still pretty early. What you don't often see from narcolepsy is the aftermath of a long day like that, so I probably won't be back anytime soon.
Disney seemed to think it was because people were cheating, so they were going to make it a little more difficult to get the disability pass. They narrowed the availability to be available for folks on the autism spectrum or that had other developmental disorders. There were immediately groups of disabled peoples and their advocates that were highly concerned that although they didn't fit into that narrow description of disability, that they would no longer be able to visit Disney as easily because they would not indeed be eligible for DAS, and that concern did prove true.
I was denied Disney's Disability Access Service.
Disney Parks instituted a new update to their disability access program, but this update is an accessibility nightmare.
So unfortunately, I had a really bad experience at Disney.
Things like cancer, Crohn's disease, people that can't be in the heat too long. I have a very long list of other disabilities that are no longer eligible for the DAS pass.
It's often described as a line skip service, but I find that the people describing it that way are normally people who have not used DAS. It's just like the difference between eating out at a restaurant and ordering takeout. If you eat in, you spend your time waiting for your food at your table. And if you get takeout, the food still takes just as long to cook. You just spend the time waiting at home or in the car on the way.
Nowadays, when people call into DAS, because usually it's done virtually before a visit, they talk to a cast member. That may be, their case may be elevated to a medical personnel, but who those medical personnel are and what their credentials are not made obvious and cannot be asked about. At least in a couple situations, I've heard that the call goes from cast member to medical personnel to psychologist. And at any point, the DAS can be given or rejected.
I waited 2 hours or something. So with me already having a lot of anxiety about calls and talking to strangers.
In the survey that we did, over 80% of people said they had a lot of increased stress and anxiety about even applying for the DAS. And over 60% said not receiving the DAS would guarantee that they either didn't go to Disney at all anymore or they went way less frequently.
But then suddenly when they answer, if you don't respond, within, I don't know if there's an actual time limit, but basically if you don't respond right away, they're going to give up and move on to the next person. So
they're taking away a place that somebody didn't have to worry about their allergies or their anxiety or their multiple sclerosis or all of the disabilities that people live with. They're taking a part of the population that's already struggling and making it harder for them.
We are only going to go to Epcot. So we're going to be at Walt Disney World for 2 days. We're not going to any of the other parks. We're just going to go to Epcot, which is mainly why we wanted to go anyway. And we are going to have food and have drinks and enjoy walking around the world and enjoy the entertainment and shows. And we are not going to ride a single ride.
My research last year led my heart to, if someone asks for help, you help them. And as I reached those conclusions last year with the old DAS, inevitably someone would say, someone will cheat. And I said, I kind of think about it like the American court system, where better that a couple of cheaters get in, but everybody that needs it also gets it, than to maybe eliminate more of the cheaters, but also eliminate a large number of people that really just need some help.
He was on hold for over 7 hours. He talked to the first lady. She was very nice. She denied him, asked for a supervisor. The supervisor was rude, mean, talking back to him, yelling at him, telling him he would have to be separated from his family while he waited somewhere else. The lady hung up on him. Disney, the most magical place, and said, we can't get a refund. But we had to buy a ticket to Disneyland in LA to get in line to get a queue for the DAS.
This is more than just, I want to ride rides at an amusement park. Being a Disney fan is a big thing for some people. It's not just where they go on vacation. It's where they spend their money. It's buying things for their home. It's the things they wear. They subscribe to Disney Plus. And people are legitimately heartbroken at losing this. What am I going to do with my life if I'm not a Disney fan? And can I be a Disney fan if Disney doesn't want me to be? It sounds ridiculous to say it's a way of life, but it is. It's something that's really important to them. It's part of how they define themselves. And they're kind of lost at the moment for being dismissed so readily by a company that they have given their hearts to.
Take them to the merry-go-round, and I took them different places, and as I'd sit there while they rode the merry-go-round, did all these things, sit on a bench, eating peanuts, I felt that there should be something built, some kind of an amusement enterprise built where that the parents and the children could have fun together.
And he wanted to make a place where everybody could come and use their imagination. And I would think that man would want the parks to be accessible for everyone.
If you're like me, you're not only going to laugh a lot, but you're going to shed a few happy tears. So thanks for coming. And again, I'm sorry I can't be there with you personally for this occasion. But here now is Follow Me Home.